Welcome friends in Science Lecture 3, Lesson 16, Sustainable Management of Natural Resources. Today we are going to learn what the topic of forest and wildlife. So forests are biodiversity hotspots that we know because a lot of organisms live in forest, almost all of them live in forestic areas. So the range of life forms like bacteria, fungi, ferns, flowering plants, nematodes, insects, birds, reptiles, humans including, and so on found is also important. That is, these all are very important creatures for our living, that is flora and fauna, to continue. Without them, plants and animals cannot survive. That means all of them are very necessary. So the aim of conservation is to try to preserve the biodiversity that we have inherited. So this loss of biodiversity cannot be taken for granted, and we need to control it, that these diversities live in these forestic areas healthily and wealthily. Now going for stakeholders. So what are the stakeholders? Stakeholders are the ones who are considered as a forest that they look upon for. Like these stakeholders are the ones who are taking the forestic areas for conservations and protections or utilization. So the first is the people who live in the around forest are dependent on forestic produced for various aspects. That is, the local people they are targeting with, that they are the one of the owners of the forest. Who? The local people. Second is the forestic department of the government, who owns the actual land and control the resources of the forest. So this is the government department, which is second owner of the forestic areas. The third is an industrialist, from those who that is, they use the different products from the forestic areas, like tendu leaves as in given an example, for making beads. Pulp of paper is been found from the woods of the plant from the forestic areas. And the fourth owner are the wild and the natural enthusiasts. That means the one who are saving the nature and wildlife, that is plants and animals, they want to conserve it. So they are the fourth ones who are take care for the forestic areas and pristine form, like that they are not involved basically, but from outside they get taking care for all these organisms, that is plants and animals. Going furthermore, starting with the local people. Local people are the ones who require firewood, small timber, that thatch is nothing but the roof making ornaments like bamboos. They are given bamboos used for making slats of the houses. Even the grass that they put upon, which is driven, that is called as in thatch. Baskets also they collecting for and storing food materials. Then they are using forestic area for agriculture purpose, fishing if the rivers are there, and hunting. That is, animals hunt for meat. They are gathering fruits, nuts, medicines, everything from the forestic area. Even their animals graze in these forestic areas, and the fodder is collected from this. So these are the ones, or the local people, who are thickly dependent upon these forestic areas. Fine. So they are the ones who are utilizing. They know what is the nature is. They sometimes nowadays they exploit it also, but maximum times they do not exploit. Rather, they take care for this forestic area. Second is the forestic department. This after independence, forestic department in independence took over from the Britishers, but local knowledge and local needs continued to be ignored in the management practices. This was not done before. Nowadays they are taking care for, but before that local people were ignored. Their knowledge was ignored. Forest has been converted to monoculture. Why? Because for the revenue that whenever they are getting money for, they want to plant such plants only, like pine, teak, eucalyptus, for wood and paper. So the huge vegetation was cleared, destroyed, right? So the amount of biodiversity in these areas also get destroyed. So these are the ones, because of the revenue, and revenue is generated by the industrialists. That means this forestic department and industrialists both are tying up together for the basic needs of industry and the revenue generated from it. So both of these departments, that is in government department and industrialist people, do not take care for the forestic areas but to ruin them, and they destroy them by cutting down these trees and also planting those woods only which are actually commercial based. Fine, going further, the last comes are the nature wild enthusiastic. Now these enthusiastics are actually directly not dependent on the forestic areas, because they are not actually dependent, that they are not going to work without the forestic areas, but they are the ones who are taking care for animals, so whom they are considered as their management. That means they are just for the management. The conservations were initially taken up with a large animals. Initially the target were lions, tigers, elephant, rhinos and all. But slowly they realized that this system is not going to work with these 4 people only. So they started taking care for entire plantations and entire animals, those who are living in this area, because it's a cyclic nature. Everyone is dependent in cycle with respect to each other. There have been enough instance of the local local working traditions for conservation of forest. For example, this is an important Bisnoy example. So this is a Bisnoy community living in the western Rajasthan on the border of the desert. Conservation of the forest and wildlife has been their religion, tent for them. These nature loving people have for centuries been conservation the flora and fauna, that is plants and animals, to the extent of sacrificing their lives to protect the environment. So they have sacrificed their life. This is a real incident of Bisnoy, and they are living with a basic philosophy that all the living things have the right to survive and share all the resources. That means they are not only thinking that we are humans, so we are the ones who are supposed to be used. It is each and everyone, plants and animals, right to live in this area with dignity, and this forest is for everyone. Fine. So they have the living on the basis of this philosophy. The government of India has recently instituted an Amrita Devi Bisnoy National Award for Wildlife Conservation in the memory of Amrita Devi Bisnoy. In 1731, during the British rule, she and the 363 others for the protection of khejri trees sacrificed their life. They were being cut alive or had been killed during that time because they didn't allow these khejri trees to be cut down because of their nature loving and the right for everyone. They fighted and got killed also. But today they are being recognized as the heroes, and because of them the present era has changed. This the prejudice against the traditional use of the forestic areas has no basis. For example, the Great Himalayan National Parks contains within the reserve areas alpine meadows which were grazed by the sheep. That means this is another example for stakeholders that they are not taking local people for granted, and what the government has done, that they have declared this as a reserve areas for alpine meadows, and the nomadic shepherds which were grazing their flocks up to the valleys and summers. Now what has happened, because of the national park nobody is going, the sheep are not allowed for the graze, so they are not grazing, and the grass have grown very tall, and they are again falling on the same grass up on themselves only when they get dry up. So the new grass cannot grow because the entire land is covered by the tall grasses waste material which is falling on them. So this can be a kind of a damage which can affect the flora and fauna. So they should take care for the ones actually that there should be allowed for the grazing, and the national park was supposed to be an sanctuary. Fine. So this is how we need to take care for each and every project. Even the dams damages caused by the forest, that is this is an industrialization done by the humans, and it is not that the local people are only harming the forestic areas. What we are doing is building dams and all. Even these reserve areas are supposed to be used so that they can have a revenue and can generate income also. So they are supposed to be made tourist places also, and we need to plan and manage the things around. So that is why we have taken this as a stakeholder, that these stakeholders should plan themselves in a manner that everybody should get benefited. Fine. So I hope so you understood this part. Thank you for this particular video.